the Australian Silky Terrier, the Bichon Frise, the Bolognese, the long coat Chihuahua, the smooth coat Chihuahua, the Chinese Crested, the English Toy Terrier, the Griffon Bruxellois, the Havanese, the Italian Greyhound, the Japanese Chin, the King Charles Spaniel, the Lowchen, the Maltese, the miniature Pinscher, the Papillon, the Pekingese, the Pomeranian, and finally, the Pug. I hand you over now to Mr. Brian Leonard, who will do the commentary.
Well, the toy groups before you, ladies and gentlemen. Many people look down on this group. I suppose really you have to in some ways. But it is a companion dog. And if anybody's ever been paid to be a companion, then you know how hard a job these dogs actually do. Albert White is taking an initial look at all of them standing. And hopefully we'll be joined by two missing dogs, the Cavalier and the Yorkshire Terrier, shortly. Tables bring Raw forward because, of course, these dogs are all known to dog breeders as table dogs. And when Mr. White has got to the end of the line, the first one on the table will be the Affenpinscher. Here comes the Cavalier. And with its red box, the Yorkshire Terrier, the only dog shown on the box. Mr. White going over the Affenpinscher. There were 85 judged by Miss Jean Lanning. And this breed originated in the 17th century in Germany, sometimes known as the Black Devil, but more commonly as the Monkey Terrier, Affen being German for monkey, and Pinscher, of course, for terrier. There is a definite touch of terrier in this dog. It's full of mischief, it's lively, it's affectionate. Affectionate as all this group are. Has a rough coat, doesn't need any trimming, or shouldn't need any trimming, and the ears can be up or down. Good for the country, or the city, for a house, or a flat. Next on the table, the Australian Silky Terrier. There were 21, judged by Mr. Mark Burns. The winner was number 10553, a dog. This is sometimes known as a Sydney Terrier, which places it more closely to its geographical beginnings. But for the coat, it might well appear in the terrier group, which it sometimes does in countries other than Great Britain. I think it might object to be calling a lap dog. It's a newcomer on the scene. It was first recognized by the Australian Kennel Club in 1962 and by the Kennel Club here in 1970. The Australian Silky Terrier. Next on table, the Bichon Frise. There were 139 of these, judged by Mrs. Eleanor Bothwell. And the best of breed is a dog, number 10631. This good-looking snowball comes from the Mediterranean. There are a family of dogs based on this pattern. It may well have been developed originally from a water dog. The coat tends to tell us that. You'll find portraits of this dog from the 17th century onwards, usually in family groups. Close up, you can see the contrasting black nose, black toenails, dark eye, and black eye rings, which set off this beautiful animal to perfection. It does thrive on being the center of attention. Of course, if you're thinking of taking this on, then you will have to do a considerable amount of work with the coat. It was recognized by the KC first in 1974 and first shown in May 1974 at the Leeds Championship show. And now a newcomer to Crufts, first time ever, the Bolognese. There were, indeed, only 19 of these dogs. The winner was a dog, and it's 10726. It is, of course, one of the Bichon family, developed in the Mediterranean, and will be found at home, of course, in Bologna since the 13th century. Juliet Cunliffe reminds us that this dog, in the 15th century, it was written that queens give them small portions of their own food in golden vases. The coat is a lot less, shall we say, cared for in some ways than the Bichon itself, so it's probably a little easier to look after. On the table now, our late arrival, the Cavalier King Charles Spaniel. This was the largest of the entries today. There had to be 2 judges. There were 192 dogs judged by Mrs. Pam Thornhill. and there were 193 bitches, judged by Ms. Sheila Smith. The winner was number 10902, which is a dog. The eyes of this breed give it away. It's a Spaniel, and there's no doubt about it whatsoever. It comes in 4 glorious colors. The color you see before you is known as Blenheim, beautiful chestnut and white. The breed certainly goes back to the 15th century, but it was only separated from a close relative, the King Charles Spaniel, just over 60 years ago. Once a specimen of this breed was best in show at Crufts. Now on the table, the Chihuahua Longcoat, the smallest of all the breeds. There were 167, judged by Mrs. Beverly Sutton, and the winner was number 11202, a bitch. This breed is reputed to come from Chihuahua County, Chihuahua City in Mexico. But there is some suspicion that this was a con trick by a gentleman who wanted to sell them in America. And another theory is that they actually originated in Malta, where today you will see little smooth-coated black dogs, which are quite common on one of the islands, small islands close to Malta. And now, without the long hair, the smooth-coated Chihuahua. There were 96 of this breed, judged by Mrs. Diana Fitzsavage, and the winner was number 11296, a dog. You have the same dog as the Longcoat. In fact, it came before the Longcoat. And there is nothing hidden away here. You see every bit of the dog. A specimen of this breed was reserved best in show at Crufts in 1979. The very first specimens of this breed reached our shores in the late 1800s. Richmond Show catalogue shows that there were 2 shown there in 1905. But it wasn't really until the 50s that the breed took off, although there was a breeding pair in England in 1934. Next on the table, a dog which many people find very strange, but it's very simple really. There is only coat on the crest, the tail, and the legs. This breed, there were 120. They were judged by Mrs. Angela Draper Andrews, and the winner was a dog number 11477. There are 2 varieties of this breed. One which is called a powder puff, which has hair all over it. As with many Chinese breeds, it's very difficult to decide precisely when it came into being. For those very few people who don't like the smell of a dog, this dog actually has no smell. But you will have to be careful that it doesn't get out into the sun without some suntan lotion on it. Next on the table, the English Toy Terrier. There were 41 of these, and they were judged by Mr. John Richardson. The best of breed was number 11508, a bitch. This probably came from the Black and Tan Terrier, and is sometimes known even as the Toy Terrier. It can be traced back to the early 16th century. Of note are its ears, which are the shape of the flame of a candle. Very intense coloring, a very, very deep ebony black, and a very beautiful chestnut brown, and the very clearly defined coloring. The English Toy Terrier. Next on the table, the Griffon Bruxellois. 63 were judged, and the judge was Mrs. M. Maureen Higgins. As the name tells you, this is from Brussels, sometimes known as the Belgian street urchin. Tough little character, used for ratting. Griffon, of course, as Bernard told those of you who were here yesterday, means that it has a rough coat. And it has that beautiful cheeky face. In Europe, there are two breeds here, either this rough-coated one or a smooth. But in England, they're treated as one breed. A Van Eyck painting of 1434 shows a dog very, very similar to this breed. A little hand stripping of this dog, which is a skilled job, which terrier breeders know all about. And now on the table, the Havanese. There were just 34 of these, and they were judged by Mrs. Anne Horan. And as the name will tell you, it is of Spanish origin and came to Cuba during the conquest by the Spanish of the whole of the South American area. In Cuba, where it settled and was bred extensively, it became known as the Havana silk dog, that beautiful silky coat. You can see similarities to the Maltese and to the Bichon family. Yes, you can clap if you want to. These dogs are, of course, very rare in Cuba now, but fortunately the breed has been saved. On the table now, the smallest of all the greyhounds, the Italian Greyhound. Judged by Mrs. Olive Parson, there were 81, and the best of breed was number 11660, a bitch. This dog came into the UK in the 17th century, but it dates back to way before Pompeii. There is the most beautiful statue by the Renaissance sculptor Donatello, showing two of these dogs. Very often used as a hot water bottle in the days before electric blankets. Possibly the oldest of the toy dogs, although there are some who would argue with that, but not quite as delicate as it looks. The Italian Greyhound. On the table now, the Japanese Chin. There were exactly 100 of this breed, judged by Mrs. Christine Reeves Sargent. And the best of breed was number 11752, a dog. It's not very hard to get that this breed originated in China, although it's called a Japanese Chin. and it's thought that it went to Japan as a present from an empress to an empress. Sometimes known now as the Japanese Spaniel. It has one unique feature, which is indicated by the name chin, which means cat, cat-like. And that is given to it because it washes its face with its paws in the way that a cat does. It's quite a good little watchdog because it has a bark which is much bigger than the dog. Next on the table, the King Charles Spaniel. Breed judged by Mrs. Tracy Jackson. There were 96 in all. And the best of breed was 11873, a bitch. Sometimes known as the English Toy Spaniel. It was a favorite of the court of Charles II and comes in the same four beautiful colors that the Cavalier King Charles comes from. It's reputed that this breed, one of this breed, followed Mary Queen of Scots to the scaffold when she was beheaded. You will see from the shortness of nose that that is one of the distinguishing features from the Cavalier King Charles Spaniel. And to gain that expression, the dog is slightly undershot. The King Charles Spaniel. Now on the table, the Lowchen. This is a German name which translated means little lion dog, and of course refers to the way the dog's coat is trimmed. The origins are rather obscure, but there is illustrations of this dog around about 1615. Another breed which was sometimes called a comforter, i.e. the ladies would take it to bed with them to keep them warm. Don't mix this dog with a poodle. Its coat is totally different. It's fine, long and silky, and the dog's head is short and wide. Next on the table, the Maltese. Quite naturally, it's been seen around in the Malta area for over 2,000 years. Again, this beautiful white coat is set off by a dark nose, a dark eye, and black eye rims. Again, it's a breed which needs considerable preparation. There were in fact 47 of these, and they were judged by Miss Christine Turner. This dog was number 11997, and it is a male. This dog appears in the paintings of Joshua Reynolds and Goya, and an early writer said that it is a meet playfellow for mincing mistresses. No disrespect to the present handler. On the table now, the miniature Pinscher. There were 84 of these, judged by Mr. Fred Leonard, and his best of breed was 12081, a dog. Don't mix this dog with the Doberman Pinscher. Pinscher, of course, means terrier, so it's a miniature terrier. It originated in Germany and became popular in the UK after the Second World War. There's a Carpaccio painting of this from the 15th century. It was first recognized by the Kennel Club in 1955. On the table now, the Papillon, the second largest entry of the day in the toy group. There were 230 of them, judged by Mrs. K. Stewart. And the best of breed was number 12282, and it's a dog. Papillon, of course, is French for butterfly, and it is the ears and face which give this dog its name. There is a variety with drop ear, which is known as the Phelene or moth. In Europe, this dog is often called the Continental Spaniel, and it's reputed to have extrasensory perception. I'm not altogether sure that I would want a dog as a companion that had an extrasensory perception, but I'm sure there are many who love it. On the table now, the Pekingese. There were 148 of these, and they were judged by Mr. Michael Quinney. His best of breed was number 12359, and it's a dog. Now you will see the judges just lifted this dog from the table, and yet he didn't do that to any other dog. And that is because this dog is very heavy in bone, and should be. Very solid bone structure underneath all that hair. And so we say it picks up heavy. Stately pace. The breed first came to the UK in the 1860s, after the British had overthrown the Chinese Summer Palace. As with many Oriental breeds, it does have a mind of its own and can be very stubborn. We've had the odd specimen in this ring who's decided he doesn't want to walk around the ring, and then he simply doesn't. On the table now, the Pomeranian. There were 156 in this breed, and they were judged by Mrs. Heather Moores. This is the smallest of the Spitz group. When you think about the Japanese Spitz, think of the sled dogs from the north. It seems almost impossible that they've been scaled down to this size. Pomeranians, of course, originated in Pomerania, which is an area on the Baltic coast between or on the border of Germany and Poland. This was a breed that was a favorite with Queen Victoria, although I have to say many of the specimens that she had were not quite as small as this, but she did have them shown at Crufts. And now on the table, the pug. This breed was judged by Mrs. Joan Troth, and there were 187 entered. The best of breed was number 12733, and it's a dog. Oriental breed again, a miniaturized Mastiff. Miniaturized over a period of 2,400 years. It came to Holland in the 16th century via the Dutch East India Company, and they were very often trade goods. And the final dog in the group, the Yorkshire Terrier. This breed was judged by Mr. Osmond Samaja, who himself showed one of these to Best in Show at Crufts. The winner was number 12927, and it's a dog. The coat here requires a lot of hard work if it's going to be kept in this condition, but many people simply trim it to have it just as an easy care for companion. The father of the breed in dog terms is a dog called Huddersfield Ben from the 19th century. The coat color should be a dark steel blue and tan, not a silver. Now Mr. White will take a look along the line and come to his conclusions as to possibly 8 which he will bring out for final assessment. And he has pulled out the Australian Silky Terrier, the Cavalier King Charles Spaniel, the long coat Chihuahua, the Italian Greyhound, the Maltese, the Pekingese, and the Yorkshire Terrier. And the pug is there as well. Somebody not watching the judge. Albert White is now shaking hands with all these beautiful dogs, owners. Now in this final assessment stage, it's likely that Mr. White will move them up and down again. So feel free. The Australian Silky Terrier. The Cavalier King Charles Spaniel. The long coat Chihuahua. the Italian Greyhound, the Maltese, the Pekingese, the Pug, and finally the Yorkshire Terrier. Stewards are now bringing out the rostrums on which the ribbons are placed. And Albert is making his final assessment. And it goes to the Pekingese. Second in the group for the Pug. Third, the Yorkshire Terrier. And fourth, the Lowchen Chihuahua. A round of applause for the judge, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Albert White. The presentation this evening will be made by Mr. William Secord, a name possibly some of you will not know, the leading expert in the world of dog art. And the winner, the Pekingese. The Pug, ladies and gentlemen. The Yorkshire Terrier. And the long-coat Chihuahua.